Hello, this is Mr. Vaughn. Let me make sure this is recording. Yes, it is. With video lesson 2.2, chapter 2, lesson 2, converting between percents and fractions. Percents into fractions and then fractions into percent. You should be looking at page 102 and 103 in your packet as well. Should look like this. Okay. And have those notes out while you're watching the video lesson. So, percent. You recognize the word per as I'm emphasizing that. Percent. Percent is actually comes from the Latin, means per 100 or out of 100. Per 100. So if I have 63% of something, let's take their example here, 45%, what it means is 45 out of 100, or 45 hundredths as a fraction. So if we had 100 squares, and you had 45% of them, you would have 45 out of the 100. This comes in really handy not just when you have 100 of something, but let's say you had 1,000 of something. You could still compare it with something that had a different amount just by saying the percent. You know, okay? So that's where percents come in handy. Back over to your notes. So how do you get that percent into a fraction? That's what we're doing right here. So what you need to do, since it's out of 100, write it as a fraction with 100 as a denominator. It's as simple as that. So 63% means 63 out of 100, which you can see it right here. I'll write it a little bit bigger. 63 out of 100. 63 hundredths. Then you can simplify if you are able to. Okay. People oftentimes get confused if it's a single digit, like 9%. They want to go 90 out of 100. That is not correct. That is not correct. 9% means 9 per every 100. So I lost my good pin again. It means 9 out of 100, so that would be 9 out of 100. Don't make that mistake making that into a 90. Okie dokie. That's percent into fraction. Pretty simple. Don't forget to simplify when you're done. Reverse. Gotta put the pen down before I move the thing up. Reverse. If you have a fraction and they're asking you to turn it into a percent, you've got a couple different methods you can use. One of them is to write the fraction. Let me make sure I get the right one. Write an equivalent fraction. Equivalent fraction with 100 as a denominator, and then convert it into a percent, because you know percent's 100. So if I have, I'll write this bigger over here, 3 over 20, 3/20ths, and I want to get that into a percent. If I can get it to a fraction with 100 on the bottom, then I'm gold because it's out of 100. So that's times 5. That's times 5. So 15 out of 100, what percent is that? It's 15%. That's where you get that. So what happens if you're not able to get that denominator to an equivalent fraction with 100 on the bottom? Then you need to convert it into a decimal. I got fat again. Convert it into a decimal, usually by dividing, right? Then you move the decimal over 2 places to the right to get it as a percent. So let's go through this example right here. So we have 7/8. 8 is a fine number, but it doesn't get to 100 easy, right? So we'll divide it. I'll just show you what we're doing off to the side. 7 divided by 8, you'd add the decimal and the zeros, and if you divided that out, you can trust me, or you can figure it out on your own, you would get 0.875, or 875 thousandths written the right way. So that's a decimal equivalent to the fraction. Now we want to turn that into a percent, so you move it 2 places to the right, and that's 87.5%. Okay, and you move it 2 places because you're dealing with this hundredths, right? So you want to move it over two places. Two places as a decimal is the hundredth place, if that makes sense to you. So, quick review. Oh, my things are all over the place, aren't they? Percent is per 100. If you can remember that, you'll be really, really in good shape to get a fraction as a percent. Get it to a denominator of 100 on the bottom, then convert it into whatever the number's on the top, because that's how many is out of 100. If you can't get it to 100 easily, you must divide. You must divide, and then change that into a percent. If you need some more explanation, the textbook is quite good. If you look at the blue writing on yours it's not blue because you have a photocopy. Let me see if I can get this to go down. They give you the explanation up here, and then they give you some examples. And all this blue stuff right here says what they're doing on this side over here. So, definition of a percent, 50% means 50 out of 100. That's why they wrote it as a fraction. And then simplify. So if my explanations don't do it for you, go ahead and look at the blue stuff on page 102 and 103, and hopefully that will help you out some more. So make sure you try the your turn problems, these percents into fractions and these fractions into percents, and write yourself a summary summarizing what you would do to what you learned on this page today. Thank you very much, and I will see you soon.